Okay, I will call the special meeting for September 28th, 2021 to order. The time is 6:30. Item 2, discussion item. Item 1, coronavirus fiscal recovery fund allocations, item 21175.
Okay, so there is a bunch of paperwork in front of you. So I'm going to break this down and try to make it as easy as possible. First, before we get into this, the Arpa funds are related to COVID-19. I'm frequently asked about an update on how COVID's impacting our community. So there's 2 sheets of paper in front of you. One has a list of all the, not all the cities, but several cities within Tarrant County. That list goes down. This is just to give you somewhat of a comparison of what our statistics look like compared to other cities. Our case rate as opposed to the population is roughly 17.8% of our population has tested and recorded positively with COVID-19. The death rate as compared to our population is 0.2%. And the death rate as opposed to cases is 1.3%. This is just to give you a comparison of where we stand to other cities. Why is that important? Because we're going to talk about the disparity and as we get into COVID-19 and how our population has been negatively impacted by COVID as compared to other populations. That's an important piece of information to understand as we talk about being in a qualified census tract and how we allocate these funds and justify that. The next page is just the graph. This is updated as of today from Tarrant County Public Health to show you that we are seeing a downward trend in positive cases currently as related to the Delta variant. We have seen about a drop on average, about 1,000 cases less per week over the last 2 weeks. So we are starting to see a downward trend. That last graph is always inaccurate. It's never updated until about a couple weeks out. So we're just starting to see a downward tick. That's the important thing to notice here is that case trends are going downward. So that's your COVID-19 update on where we stand. You can kind of just set those papers to the side. You have a binder in front of you that says resource book. This resource book is all of the rules and guidance and reporting requirements and things associated with allocating ARPA funds. You don't have to read a single line in it. I've done all that reading for you, but it's there. So if you have any questions or would like to refer to anything, you can. As we start talking about these allocations on the recommendations that I'm putting in front of you, underneath resources, I've cited some of the resources that are available that you can go back to and look. Interim final rule is in here, the frequently asked questions, the reporting requirements, the revenue loss calculation, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, as well as the DWSRF. The DWSRF is the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund that is put out by the EPA. When we get into some of the projects here in a little bit, the interim final rule says that in order to spend these ARPA funds, they must qualify under the DWSRF as an eligible project. So that's why the DWSRF handbook is in here as well. All the projects in this handbook are eligible for coronavirus relief funds to be spent on. That's where that correlates. So there is a significant amount of research that has gone into this and working with the Treasury and the county and figuring out what are we permitted to spend our allocations on. It's important that we consider all the different aspects and try to address as many issues as we possibly can. I've said from the beginning that we have the opportunity here to allocate the majority of these funds towards our infrastructure needs. And I think that is the best way for the city to address this right now. And so you'll notice that the majority of the allocations, the recommendations that we're bringing before you are going to be addressing infrastructure needs. That's going to allow the city to focus its funds and continuing operations without a negative economic impact. So that's what we're going to bring you for you. So the resource book, you can kind of just set to the side as well for right now. That's just for you to have handy in case you want to reference back to something. There is a spreadsheet here that is a summary of the recommendations that we're going to be bringing before you, just to kind of give you a elevated look of what we're looking to work with. The reason why we are coming to you and asking for a special meeting tonight, as I indicated in my email to all of you explaining the meeting, and when I requested this meeting from the mayor and the mayor pro tem, was because we have some pretty critical infrastructure issues that we need to address as soon as possible. I mentioned in the email that the city is currently in violation status with TCEQ as it relates to some issues on our water system. More specifically, we have violations that are associated with a backflow prevention program. That one can be easily addressed. But we have other issues related to the volume of water that we are producing. The reason why we have fallen into violation status isn't necessarily because of anything we've done on the city end, but TCEQ has changed the way that they do their assessments on this.
No, I'm just going.
Specifically when it comes to multifamily units. So previously, multifamily units, like apartment complexes and duplexes, were counted as a single unit. Now they're no longer counted as a single unit. They count each individual unit in there separately. So what that has done is that has changed how much gallons per minute volume we are required to be able to supply. It's changed that number on us, and we are no longer meeting that number. Currently, we are producing somewhere in the ballpark of 900 and something gallons per minute. We're required to be producing 1,100 something gallons per minute. When the new residential development comes in, we're going to be required to produce 1,300 and something gallons per minute. We're adding the new well for that system, but that's only going to bring us up to about 1,100 gallons per minute. So we're still going to be falling short even once the new well's in. So that, and then were there any other, correct me if I'm wrong, Gilbert, are there any other TCQ violations that we needed to address? I feel like there was more.
There's one more, it has to do with flushing the dead end mains for the water system. It has never been done before, but we started to do that as of last month. So this will be the second month we've done it with TCQ standards.
What are you doing?
Flushing out the water lines. So when there's a dead end main, where the main stops and it doesn't go anywhere, you have to flush those lines according to TCQ regulation.
Gotcha.
And we do not have a program in place to do that.
But we're working on that.
Yes, yes. So all of this is also attributed to the fact that currently our PD well site is still been down. A lot of this is due to some outstanding electrical issues that we've had to address. So there's a lot of issues going on that we need to try to get corrected as soon as possible. The reason for the special meeting is because our first response to TCEQ is due October. I thought it was October 17th. It's actually October 7th, right? We have to give TCEQ a response on October 7th on how we're going to move forward and address these issues and correct them. We don't have to have them corrected by then, but we do have to inform them of what our plan is. So we've taken some obviously, Gilbert's already taken action on his end on implementing the corrective action that we can that doesn't require fiscal funds. But there are other things that do require fiscal funds to be able to address some of these. One of the options that we are starting to research that I was hoping to have a pretty good response for you tonight on was how we're going to increase our gallons per minute volume. That's a pretty big issue that we all need to be concerned about, how we're going to get there. One of the catches is currently we have a connection with the city of Fort Worth. That connection is only classified right now as an emergency connection only. The problem is even with that being an emergency connection only, we can't count it because we don't have the treatment set up to mix groundwater and well water. I'm sorry, groundwater and surface water. Our facilities are not set up to mix those two water types.
I thought we always got Fort Worth water.
We have not that I know of. We have never turned on that vault. We've never opened up our connection
Seriously?
between us and the city of Fort Worth. It's always been.
No,
one.
we had Fort Worth water.
Yeah,
Yeah, a long time ago.
We've had it.
Oh, it may have been a long time ago, but right
Okay.
now, currently, we are not set up.
Okay,
To,
okay.
we don't have the appropriate. You want to explain what's the chemical that we require that we have
So
to?
we need ammonia, surface water mixes with ammonia and chlorine. So right now we are free, meaning we only use chlorine.
Mhm.
So if we want to use Fort Worth water, we will have to inject ammonia into our system as well. So when they mix together, it doesn't create any byproducts that can cause or harm people.
Oh, I didn't say we wanted it. I just said I thought had to use it.
The
She
hope,
takes it back.
the hope and the goal here is that we won't have to use
Yes.
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
we need to be able to count that connection into the gallons per minute that we're able to provide if needed. But we can't do that unless we're set up to do that appropriately.
So what's it gonna take to get set up?
A lot of different things, and that's what we're going to start covering tonight, and the things that we need to address. So let's go ahead and start. I want to start talking about some of these projects that we've got before you. There should be a paperclip stack. They're in order. I kept them in order for you of priority. So the reason for this meeting is we have about 4 or so projects that we're requesting urgent approval on. The rest of them, if you're not comfortable approving them tonight, we can delay them, but I do want to at least start talking about them and getting funds allocated. So the
Before you
first,
get started on the issue that he was just stating that we needed,
Mhm.
you said we don't need any money to fix that?
for the things that don't require any money, he's already working on those, like
Okay.
implementing employee programs for the backflow inspections, implementing the dead end main flushing. He's implementing the programs internally to address those issues. But the gallons per minute and some of the other issues, we have to, it's going to require us to allocate funds to address them. So the first one is titled Water and Sewer Infrastructure Technical Assistance. We've actually already talked about this. This is the consultant who will be assisting us with doing the capability study and implementing the impact fees. Why is that important? Because the impact fees are going to help offset some of the issues that we've got coming up. We've already talked about the eligibility of using these funds to conduct those studies and have the consultant help us implement the impact fees. So that's what this first project is technical assistance. The justification statement is the fancy statement that the U.S. Department of Treasury requires us to have on file whenever we allocate funds. That just means that we've researched the interim final rule and have cited where in the interim final rule we are allowed to spend these funds on this project. The project description is below. It talks about how currently we do not have a capital improvement plan that is aligned with standard engineering guidelines. And so therefore we have to have a technical assistance or consultant come in and help us implement the capabilities assessment and implement the impact fees that are associated with this. Are you following me? You look confused.
Okay, you said we don't have a capital improvement plan?
We don't have a capital improvement plan that aligns with generally accepted engineering practices. We have a capital improvement plan. We've put together our plan of what we feel are going to be the
Mhm.
priorities. However, that plan is not developed by an engineer or a certified city planner. To qualify to implement impact fees, that plan must be in accordance with generally accepted engineering. I don't write the law. I
Okay.
just-
Okay,
I'm citing-
oh, good Lord. Okay,
So that's why we are
Just wanted to
having an
make sure that's
engineer
what
and
I
a city
didn't hear.
planner develop this plan for us.
okay,
They're
good.
going to come in and conduct the capabilities assessment. They're going to do, they've already started research with Gilbert on finding out what our needs are. They're going to start having meetings and things with us.
Our needs are in the capital improvement plan. Okay,
I
I'm not gonna go there because
I understand.
we don't have 2 or 3 hours for that.
I
Okay,
understand,
I
but it's
understand.
got to
I got
be,
you.
it's got to be in accordance with this to
Yes.
implement the impact.
Yes.
So the
Ugh.
$65,000 we're asking for approval on is to be allocated towards that technical assistance with a consultant to get the capabilities assessment done, implement the capital improvement plan, which will now also include the plan to get us to a point where we can mix groundwater and surface water. That's going to be one of the priorities that's on there.
Okey doke.
So that's the first allocation.
What else? Give us your best shot. What else you got?
Do you guys want to discuss these in length as we go through and approve them as we go? Or do you want me to go over a few of these and then consider approving them? How do you? How
Let's
would you
approve them as we go, so we can just keep going.
Okay. All right,
I move,
wasting no time.
that's this. I move that we approve the allocation of $65,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled, would this be the Water and Sewer Infrastructure Technical Assistance,
Yes, ma'am.
as read?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Poll the council.
Place one. Aye. Place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five.
Aye.
Place six.
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, so the next project is the supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA. This is essentially the computer system that controls our water system. It is outdated. Has some malfunctioning portions of it, including the automated shutoffs that are not working. So our guys are literally having to manually monitor SCADA and the levels at all of our well sites 24/7 on their own. They're having to maintain it.
AM.
And so if you've noticed, we've had issues at a couple of our wells where the tanks get full and they start overflowing and we get some calls about, hey, this tank's overflowing. That's because they're having to manually monitor this and they haven't checked it in a couple hours. So therefore now it's overflowing. They're having to log in sometimes at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and make these changes. It also has not been updated since we've implemented the water system changes that we've made. So we're asking for the allocation of $65,000 of the ARPA funds be allocated towards upgrading and updating this system and fixing all these issues with SCADA.
How long
Definitely
have
needs
they
it.
been, how long have they had to monitor it like that?
As long as I've
Quite a while.
started here, Brian's been telling me that they've done that for a while.
How did they get bypassed? How did it get this far?
It's just hasn't been updated.
Yeah, the thing is aged.
It's old.
I can't even remember when we put it in, and it was a great thing when we put it in, but we haven't done any upgrading on it. So I'm surprised it hadn't exploded. It definitely needs to be updated. Just ask the guys that have to babysit it at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Do you have anything else on that?
No, I think it's self-explanatory on this one, unless anybody has
Entertain a
questions.
motion.
I move we approve the allocation of $65,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition SCADA System Update Upgrade.
Second.
Motion made second. Any further discussion?
Where is this one located?
The computer system itself is actually located here inside City Hall, but it has lines that are connected at every single one of our well sites and a water storage tower.
Yeah.
They can access it both here inside City Hall as well as remotely through a VPN system.
Any other questions? Poll the council.
Place one. Aye. Place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
place six.
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, the next project is titled Replacement and Rehabilitation of Electrical Systems Within the Well Sites. This one we've talked about before. We've even shown pictures of the dilapidated electrical systems that we have. Particularly, it's particularly bad at the high school well site and the PD well site. The problem with these is that they are also not set up to receive backup generator power. So we would need to add what they call transfer switches at these sites. We're asking for the allocation of $220,000 to correct the electrical issues at the PD, high school, and Shelby well lots. This amount should correct all of the issues and add at least at Shelby well site, one transfer switch so we can hook up emergency generator power in the event of a major power outage.
Excellent.
We're hoping to get more transfer switches than that, but it's just going to depend on actual cost as we move
Yeah.
forward. Right now, $220,000 we felt comfortable was good to correct the standing electrical issues at all of those, fix the electrical issues, which will fix our booster pumps and things that we have wrong right now, particularly at PD and why the PD well site is down, and set us up for emergency backup power if needed.
When will all the work be done on all of these that are being approved?
We're going, now that you've given me the approval, we're going to move forward on these right away. Do you know what a timeline would be on SCADA and electrical?
I don't, but I can definitely find out. It should be something they can get a hold of pretty quick.
We've already received the quotes in on all these, and we already have the vendor ready to go. It's just a matter of getting them to move forward. We're going to move forward on these quickly,
Tomorrow.
as soon as possible. The technical assistance, that's going to be about a 5-month process. that we've talked about before in implementing the impact fees. So we'll come back and get input and get the capital improvement plan drafted and adopted, and then an ordinance implementing the impact fees, so that the impact fees can go back towards investing more into the capital improvement projects with the water system.
Prior to the neighborhood.
Yes,
So we're
prior.
talking like maybe just week, 2 weeks, maybe something.
On getting these fixed.
Yes.
Well, the electrical is it's probably gonna take them several weeks to complete.
I mean, start.
Yes, yeah, we want to start them as quickly as they can get out.
We already got
So
the
like not
vendors
like a
lined up.
month From now.
No, we're,
Alright.
that's why we're doing this now, so he can pull the
Okay.
trigger on it, get everybody going. We
Alright.
can also notify TCEQ. These are our plans. These are the steps that we're taking and what's been approved and allocated to address all the issues
Good.
that we have going on.
You already have access to the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So once
Okay.
you say yes, yes.
Okay,
Oh, yes.
all
It
right.
is in our account.
That's what I'm hoping.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the allocation of $220,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Replacement and Rehabilitation of Electrical Systems Within Well Sites.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hold council.
Place one. Aye. Two.
Aye.
Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Place six.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, the next project is called Water System Infrastructure Administrative Office Repair. The DWSRF allows us to invest money into buildings as well, including office spaces. The service center where Public Works is housed out of, as you all know, had roof damage to it. That roof damage, we investigated to try to get that repaired this last year. It was $15,000, which we did not have the money to fix at the time. So we did have a few $1,000s that we paid to do some patchwork on the inside. Gilbert has now told me that there is a bad mold and mildew smell amongst the office space where they're working, and that's concerning. I would like to recommend that we allocate $20,000 of these funds to fix that building correctly, so it's safe for our staff working inside
Yes.
there and get the roof fixed.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve $20,000 of the coronavirus fund to the Water System Infrastructure Administrative Office repair.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hold council.
Place one. Aye. Place two.
Aye.
Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Place six.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next one's Water System Infrastructure Chlorine Storage Facility. At the Shelby well lot, the chlorine is stored in the same building and space as the general storage. So where they store parts and equipment and everything else, the chlorine tanks are right over there in the corner. They all share the same space. That's not safe. If there was to be a chlorine leak, there's no system in the building that indicates that there's a chlorine leak. And if one of our staff was to open that door, walk in there to access anything, it could harm one of our employees. So it's not a safe practice, and it's not very secure either. And I don't think it's even marked on the outside of the building like it's supposed to be. Has to be marked. So this allocation of $34,000 will go towards providing a separate standalone building that is not attached to a shared storage facility. That would include an alarm on there in the event of a chlorine leak, so that our staff doesn't just walk into a chlorine filled room.
Excellent.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the allocation of $34,000 of the coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Water System Infrastructure Chlorine Storage Facility.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hold council.
Place one.
Aye.
Place two.
Aye.
Place three.
Aye.
Place four.
Aye.
Place five.
Aye.
Place six.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next project is called Water System Infrastructure PD Well Site Security. As a requirement of TCEQ, we have to have secure well sites at all of our well sites. The PD well site has always been special because we've had the automatic gate on the north side that has allowed city staff to go in and out, and especially with our police vehicles, if we have an arrest, Public Works frequents in and out. Personal vehicles go in there for employees that are parking back there. So we frequently go in and out of that site. The gate on the north side was installed when the police department was built. It is not functioning and has not been functioning for quite some time. TCEQ, when they come out to do an inspection, are going to have a big problem with us not being able to secure that gate. So we need to try to get that gate fixed. We've had contractors come out, Bean Electric came out and took a look at it and tried to repair it. They've said the motor is too far gone. It's old. We've had it repaired many, many times.
It's time to replace it.
It's time to replace it. So we're requesting the allocation of $20,000. This will put in a new motor. It will provide staff with 20 remotes. It will also have a new keypad because the keypad that used to be out there was ran over. But it'll have a new keypad out there that way staff can open and close the gate along with a control function inside of dispatch that they can open and close that gate. So this will bring us into compliance on the security of the PD side.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the allocation of $20,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Water System Infrastructure PD Well Site Security.
Second.
Motion made second. Any further discussion? Full council.
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
All right,
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five.
Aye.
Place six,
Aye.
seven,
Aye.
All right, this next one is called Technology Infrastructure OpenGov. OpenGov is STW, which is our software that manages all of our personnel, financials, water billing. Pretty much everything that we function here in City Hall with is run through OpenGov. Currently, our system is a server-based system that we have in-house. It has been long past time for that server to be updated, and all the software items associated with the, what is it? Oh, in-city. All of the software on there is past what they call end of life, which means that we no longer receive updates on it. It's time for us to update the server.
Update the update, right?
Yeah, update the server. OpenGov has an option that is a cloud-based option. This option would move the server from being our responsibility of maintaining to being their responsibility of maintaining. There's, of course, always an increased cost with that, but it's lesser than us having to buy a new server all the time and then pay all the IT fees and things associated with it. Furthermore, this will allow city staff, currently directors, do not have the ability to access their own budgets. They don't have the ability to access all of the tracking systems that are built within STW because it's server-based. If they're not in this building, they can't access it. Cloud-based means that our staff will be able to access it anywhere. It also provides for a significant increase in tracking tools like the economic impact that we're seeing. It will allow for more up-to-date reporting. And there's a cool feature. Do you want to talk about the virtual city hall?
Okay. Talk about
So-
the what? You want to roll?
One of the things that it has included in it is virtual city hall. So this will increase our financial transparency. You'll be able to go in here and run any citizen can. You'll be able to go online to our website and through this new OpenGov and run your own financial reports and check financial performance in any department that you want to see. It also allows for citizen engagement through city council meetings through virtual city hall. It increases our online presence and allowing our citizens to be able to engage remotely, not just in person, which we've been striving for and utilizing a lot of jot form forms, online forms to try to increase our online presence and allowing that citizen engagement virtually rather than forcing them to have to always come into City Hall or call up to City Hall. There is a ton. We could spend an hour talking about the benefits with OpenGov. I know that this one is one of the bigger investments that we're asking for. It's $145,000 for the first year. That first year cost is because one of the biggest chunks is 37,000 of that is the cost of taking all of our data on our server and migrating that to the cloud data. So we don't ever lose any of our data. The other portion of that is the implementation cost, the staff training cost, all the initial costs that go with it, which I believe was about $92,000. Then the continuing annual cost for this service is $45,000. We pay $29,000 or $30,000 roughly a year currently right now. So we'd be providing ourselves a pretty big upgrade with this. ARPA does allow the allocation of these funds for multiple different reasons. Under the DWSRF, it allows us to implement these funds because it's better interaction with water billing. So we're able to cover it under infrastructure. We're also able to cover it underneath economic development because we're able to track the negative economic impact that we've been seeing from COVID-19. We're able to provide better financial transparency reports to you. I think you guys are really going to like the tools that we're going to have with this.
Cool.
So attached with this request, because I know this one was a little bit bigger one, is the detailed proposal that they have provided to us. Obviously, you're not going to read all of this tonight.
Not tonight, but we are gonna read it.
This one I wouldn't say is a critical one. If council doesn't feel comfortable approving this one tonight and you want to bring this back at the October council meeting and approve it, then we can do that. If you would also like to just approve everything tonight, we can do that as well. I'm comfortable either way. To this point, we've approved all the items that I feel are critical and really need to be approved tonight for us to adequately address the TCEQ complaint. But the rest of these, if you're not comfortable, you want to do more research, you want to hear more about it, I can understand that. We can do whatever the council would wish with those.
So how much is it again, a year?
$45,000 a year, $15,000 more a year than what we're currently paying now. And for year two, if you would like to, so we're doing year one allocations. Year two, we're going to do this again with another $768,000. We could allocate year two cost to cover the year two of this as well, if you'd like.
Good, that'll give us,
45,000.
yeah, on the budget that we're,
Yes.
I'm okay with this. How's everybody else?
Sounds good.
Sounds good,
I think we need to do it.
because it free up a little more money in our budget next year.
Well, and it makes the city hall virtual and,
More accessible.
yeah, very much so. So therefore, I move, oh, do you need to, okay.
Go for it.
I move that we approve the allocation of $145,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Technology Infrastructure Open Gov.
I'll second.
Motion been made second. Any further discussion? Poll the council.
One,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
place six,
Aye.
here.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You know, we're gonna expect TVs along the wall so we can see all these reports that this
Well,
thing's running.
So one of the cool things is we can actually give you a login as a city council. I was looking at this. We can give you a login and when you log in yourself to OpenGov, we can customize your dashboard. So as soon as you log in, whatever it is that's important to you that you want to see every time you log in will be right there.
Oh, yeah, I'm all over
And you
that.
get,
If
and you
you
get
want-
real time data.
If you want sales tax statistics for the last 15 years, and it just brings it up instantly, you know,
Okay.
or whatever it is that you are wanting to find out about right then and there, and it just pulls it all up.
You want to see how much we spent on pins? I'm sure you pull that up.
Yeah, that's about a $6 charge. right?
It's an impressive system. And it will
$6 is impressive.
significantly enhance our
No.
capability.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
All right, the next project is titled Public Safety Personnel Firefighter Staffing Increase. Attached with this, you're going to see that Chief Watley has submitted to me a list of calls, COVID-related calls that we have experienced between March 3rd of 2020 and August 24th, 2021. Roughly 25% of our calls currently are COVID-19 related. We are seeing a significant uptick in our call volume. Our guys are running right now, sometimes 5, 6, 7 calls a day. We didn't used to run that many calls at all. We would average maybe 2 a day. There were days would go by, we didn't have calls. Our call volume is significantly spiking. Part of that is due to COVID. Part of it is due to the increased population within unincorporated Tarrant County. We're seeing more and more people. We're having more and more folks travel through everything. So we're seeing a significant uptick. The ARPA funds, ARPA does allow us to allocate funds towards public health and public safety personnel. This $100,000 would be allocated to provide a part-time firefighter on duty 24 hours a day, upping our staffing from 2 full-time people on duty to 2 full-time and 1 part-time. That would give them 3 personnel on every single day for the next year, once we start this.
And this is the $100,000?
This is $100,000.
Okay.
So this is for
So,
3 part-time positions.
It'll essentially be
A,
3
B,
parts,
C.
A, B, and C. Yes, correct.
okay, so ARPA funds is we're looking at ARPA funds to fund this. right?
Correct.
Okay, so that $100,000, where are we gonna come up with $100,000 once ARPA dries up?
So we'll have to, again, revisit this again next year. I'm probably going to bring this recommendation to you back again next year to keep that staffing going.
Okay,
We'll have to reevaluate our call volume then.
okay,
I'm hoping that with the developments and with the improvements that we're doing as a city, that we can continue to increase our revenue, drive our revenue up, because this is going to be an issue of concern as we move forward, is
Yes.
firefighter staffing and how we're going to maintain this going forward.
yes,
My hope is that with the increase that we're going to see with the developments and the property tax and sales tax and those things, that we can continue to fund this in the future. So this is going to be a kind of a kickstart, but when funding runs out, if we don't have a way to fund this and this doesn't continue, then those positions are gone.
Okay.
They're funded from this.
okay,
By approving this, city council is not adding money into the budget.
okay,
We're going to do a budget amendment using these funds. So you're not committing that
Okay.
year 3, we have to fund this. That's not
Okay.
what this is.
okay,
But I think we need to be in the mindset that come year 3, we're probably going to be in a position that we need to consider adding more positions here.
Right.
We're going to need to consider adding more public works, and we're going to need to consider adding more police. We're
Yeah.
about to add population to the city of Everman with this development. So we're going to have to see an increase in staffing somewhere to respond.
So how
to
many
this.
police officers do we have?
Currently, we have 15. 3 of those are with school resource.
Yeah.
So the other 12 are all full-time. You have myself, which I'm actually in a different budget item, but you have the assistant police chief, 2 detectives, 8 patrol officers, and then 4 dispatchers, in addition to an admin assistant.
do we have any volunteers?
Police officers,
Uh-huh.
we have 2
Okay,
right now.
Okay.
Their volunteers are getting harder to find.
yeah.
Not many people want to volunteer to be police anymore,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay, what else was I gonna ask? I think that was it. Okay,
Make a motion.
yes. Well, I'm just spouting off here. I move that we approve the allocation of $100,000 of the coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Public Safety Personnel Firefighter Staffing Increase.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Poll council.
Place 1.
Aye.
Place 2.
Aye.
Place 3.
Aye.
Place 4.
Aye.
Place 5.
Aye.
Place 6.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm gonna tell
He's not
everybody, man,
even
that mayor
here.
pro
He's
tem
not
spent
even
a lot of money last night.
Look at that, how much she spent, $760.
Okay, so
Well,
before we
Kelly,
go on to
if you
these last 2 that I have, in your book, in your binder, there's a little section called revenue loss. What ARPA allows us to do is we are allowed to utilize ARPA funds for the provisions of police, fire, infrastructure. We can use it for different categories. But only up to the amount that is included on the calculation. In your book, I've put the calculation that we did. Our revenue loss by the calculation that the Treasury says we have to follow was $146,598 is how much they say we've lost in revenue.
Say that number again, please.
It's on the spreadsheet,
Uh-huh,
146,598.
thank you.
So we are allowed to utilize up to that amount of money for certain provisions of police, fire, public safety, roadway infrastructure, those sorts of things. Not a lot of money. There's not a lot of money in this category that will fund other items. So I've got 2 requests here in front of you tonight. One is for a body camera system upgrade. I'm proud, and I know that Chief Sanders was proud, that we were one of the first, if not the first agency in Tarrant County to implement department-wide body cameras in our police department. And we still do today. But because with technology, when you have body worn cameras, you have to be able to store that digital data somewhere. And our computers are maxed out. We are literally having to go to Best Buy and buy external hard drives to continue to maintain the data. It is very expensive to upgrade that. We've tried the last couple of years to pursue body worn camera grants. The problem we have with those grants is because we already have a body worn camera system in place. All the grant funding goes to departments that don't have body cameras at all. So we always get underskirted on that. So I'm asking for the allocation of $19,000 to be allocated towards body camera system upgrade. This will provide for a new server-based system that will allocate the storage space needed for all of the data. It will allow us to dock our cameras and instantly download them and maintain all of our systems. It's just going to be an upgrade to our system.
Won't be on the cloud?
No, it won't be on the cloud. Cloud storage with digital media is so much more expensive than it is with PDF files because the file size is so much
Yep.
larger. We're going to have 32 terabytes of storage data on our server. We retain every video that's recorded on our in-car system or body camera is retained for 2 years.
Okay.
And that seems like a long time, but the short story is that's how long the statute of limitations is on a civil suit.
Okay.
So I want to make sure we retain video evidence for 2 years on everything.
Yep.
And that's what we do.
So
Only
was there
safe.
nothing needed for communications for the police department?
There is, and there's actually, so I've got 2 other projects that I don't have in front of you tonight because I'm actually holding those in my back pocket because they're really not urgent at all. But I'm also holding those in case something else pops up that we feel like maybe we need to address more urgently than those. Communications is a need, but with Tarrant County 911 is stepping up and providing us with new dispatch consoles, I don't know that I want to invest any money in that just yet. So I'm kind of holding on to that one in my back pocket for right now. And holding some of these funds in reserve in case something else pops up along the way that we need 10, 20, 30 grand for that we can allocate.
Okay. That makes sense.
I try to make sense. I really do.
I'll entertain a motion.
I
I'll
try.
make a motion, we approve $19,000 of the coronavirus physical recovery fund to the revenue loss PD body worn camera fund.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hold the council.
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
place six,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, this last one for tonight is called PD Animal Control Shelter Facility Improvements. Recently, I've been visiting with the city of Kennedale. They want to partner with us on sharing shelter space. They currently contract with the city of Fort Worth. They want to partner with us. That's going to be coming down the line with further discussions and interlocals and all that kind of stuff. But in those discussions, I invited them out to come take a tour of our shelter to first off even see if this was something that they were interested in. And that's been the first time I've been out to the shelter in a few months, and it's in
Yep.
bad shape. It needs some help.
Yeah,
The kennels are in very bad shape. Many of the latches are broken. There have been a couple of times where we've been full and there's no additional outdoor space. The outdoor space they have, much of it doesn't have any roofs or coverings. One of our ordinances is about having and providing shelter for animals. We need to
Yep.
be able to provide that for animals that we have in quarantine and in our shelter. So
We can talk
the
about
building
this at
needs
our
some,
meeting.
they need some help. It wouldn't cost much. Most of it's chain link. And it's easy to do. It's just a matter of allocating the funds to get it corrected. So I'd like to allocate $10,000 of our revenue loss portion to animal control facility improvements out there to improve that facility and fix some of the issues we've got.
I move we approve the allocation of $10,000 of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds to the project titled Revenue Loss, PD Animal Control Shelter Facility Improvements.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hold the council.
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
place six,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
Okay, so this leaves us with roughly $70,000 that has been unallocated of the ARPA funds for this year. I'm gonna pretty much hold on to those for a little while. We don't have to allocate these right now. I'm gonna leave those kind of just in a reserve fund in case something else pops up that maybe we need to utilize these funds for or have as a contingency. I also expect that on some of the items that were approved tonight, we're gonna come in under budget on because I always try to throw in a contingency amount in there when I request approval for that.
Sure.
Anyway. So I'm hoping to come in under budget on several of these items anyway. So we should be revisiting this roughly in about 6 months, if not sooner, unless something pops up. to see about finishing out the allocations for this year.
How much money did you say we have left?
So the unallocated down there is the 5,260. If you look up on the top right, the two unhighlighted items,
Uh-huh,
Motorola radio and police department building improvements,
uh-huh.
I didn't bring those before you tonight.
Okay, that's 65.
That's 65 plus the 5 unallocated.
Okay,
So
but you're
70.
holding out on me.
No, ma'am, I'm not. I'm sorry.
How much money did we get in total?
This round was $768,260.34.
It's at the top.
What is,
Altogether, it's roughly 1.5 million.
And when did we get this?
We just received it Friday. Thank God.
ooh,
We did a litll dance.
Yes.
the ink is still wet on the cash.
We did the application process and have been going back and forth with sam.gov on clearing up our Duns and Bradstreet issues and all the stuff that we had to do with the state for about the last three and a half months. Finally got it all squared away and the money hit the bank within days.
Wow.
Do you have to use it by a certain time frame?
We have to allocate these funds no later than December of 2024. We don't have to
Oh.
spend them until December of 2026.
Oh, no.
Be
One
like
point, 1.5 million is not going to last us till 2026.
No.
I can assure you.
No.
Those dates are primarily set because counties have a lot more leniency and a lot more latitude on what they can spend funds on. There are also a lot of federal initiative programs that are separate from this fund that they're allowed to go in and spend money on. So don't think that this is the end of coronavirus relief funds, because we're working with Tarrant County on getting allocations through other programs to help out with other things as well. There's a lot of money out there up for grabs right now. We're pursuing every little bit that we can find.
How about asking the county for more money on their annual payment for our fire department taking care of the unincorporated parts of the county?
I address that anyway now.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on this paper,
Yes, ma'am.
what is tranche?
Tranche, that's, I don't know why they called it that, but that's what they call it. First payment, tranche number 1.
Okay. Transfer.
Allocation number 1.
That word's gonna bother me. Okay,
I didn't choose that word.
that looks
Your
weird.
your federal government did. ma'am.
No, I'm not thanking them.
Transfer check or something?
Yeah,
Have you thought about repairing
That's
or replacing the storage out on Shelby for the utilities and not the utilities, but the vehicles?
Oh, yeah, we did. And we brought forth the most critical issues this year. We have more that we're already planning and talking about for next year to bring forth recommendations. And that's one that we have talked about. We've also talked about, well, if you notice, we talked about setting these sites up for a generator this year. We didn't talk about purchasing a generator. That's because That's because I about fell out of my chair when Gilbert sent me the quote for the generator yesterday at $300,000.
shame on you.
So we're looking at other alternatives. So, next year, we're going to continue to focus a lot, I think, on infrastructure. I think that's where the where we need to focus
Yeah,
our money
yeah.
on right now.
All right.
If we can get our water system to a point where we can just maintain and worry about capital improvement projects for expansions and maintenance, we'll be in great shape. And then we can turn around and focus a lot more of our funding and things on streets, which is always a big complaint and issue.
Yeah.
So
The water meters down in Chambers Creek, are those
what's the status on the water
close
meters?
to being?
Is anything close to being?
I thought we
done?
replaced all the water meters.
Well, it's the meter boxes.
Yeah, they are working on, they installed some of them
Oh.
on the first street, I forget the name of it,
Steeple Ridge.
Steve, yes, they installed some of them there, and they're working on the rest.
When will they be finished with Enon?
Not soon enough.
There's
It's a
lot
mess.
of- There's a lot of parts that they're waiting on because of the pandemic, everything's so behind.
Well, I know they close it off every day, and
Yes.
so,
I have to take the long way around too.
They're installing water,
Drag.
fire hydrants, and they're doing all
They
kinds
were
of stuff.
they were trying to allow some vehicles to go through, and that worked right up until the other day when we had a worker get hit.
Oh, don't just make everybody drive around. It's not that
So
big a deal.
Out of safety, we just had to shut down the road while they're working on it. And
wow.
Believe me, we
you
are-
never know it's closed until you turn, and
yes,
then you go to turn up into the feed store, and so they put hay there, so you couldn't go through there anymore.
yes. And it's believe me, that is the number one complaint and phone call we're getting right now is everybody's upset about
Yeah,
the road being
I'm
closed.
surprised that didn't happen on Chambers Creek too.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of complaints about it. It's like I-35, those signs they say one day you're
Yes.
gonna love I-35. Same.
Come on,
concept.
people, they're working on it. Chill out.
One day you're gonna love it.
Okay, so we've already taken care of number 3,
Okay.
new business.
Where are we? Yes.
We're not going to executive session.
No, we have nothing to go into executive session about.
I guess we're kind of going into city manager's report.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
More?
No, I don't have any, I don't have anything other than my surgery has been rescheduled for October the 6th. So as long as that doesn't change again, I'll be here next week for the work session, but I'll be out after that. And I won't be in the office for a few weeks. I'll be remote.
Okay.
I do plan on working. I'll just be at home.
With your feet propped up.
Yes, because I'll be crazy if I'm not doing something.
Only thing I have, if you hadn't driven by the Hannah Ranch property, you got to drive by there and look at it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So they're going to town quick. So but with that being said, we are adjourned.
All right.
I was just gonna
7:20.
say that the second allocation is, we're due to receive that exactly 1 year from
Okay.
now.
Is it the same amount?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, of course, yeah. one.
It's after.
That's why we're down to pennies.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of the material.
Thank you.
Yes.
In case you can't
Can't
sleep
wait to
this
go home
evening.
and read.
Yeah.
It'll put you to sleep.
I started saying I needed something tonight. Make me feel good.
Poor Landon missed his debut.
Oh, don't start doing that.
Trying to hide it from you.
I see that. And that's okay.